So back when I lived in Japan, I bought quite a few Saturn and Dreamcast games, and I bought these with a full and honest intention to play them. But I've been living in Australia now for 6 years, and I can't play my Japanese Saturn or Dreamcast because of the voltage, which isn't compatible. And I could get a converter or whatever, but I haven't done that. So I'm left with all these games. I don't know how to store them. I didn't really make any effort to store them. But recently, I moved house, and this gave an opportunity to rethink how I was storing all those games. And before, I just had them all stacked up on their side, and you couldn't really see a whole lot. But I thought I'd try a bit harder and make a bit more of a feature of it. And I thought it would be interesting to share that. Maybe this is a middle-aged problem that a few people might have, or not so middle-aged, who's to say. So here it is. It's not entirely Saturn and Dreamcast themed, but it involved a few interesting decisions on how to make good use of the space. So let's take a little look. Firstly, to mention is for Japanese games, even though I can read all of these, it takes a little while. It takes me a second to compute what it says. So just having it on its side really wasn't that interesting. So I wanted to at least showcase some of the games front on, because it looks better, and to give myself a bit of a clue of what we're looking at here. So there wasn't enough horizontal space to have all of the games I wanted highlighted to be highlighted. But here's the choice that I made. So over here we've got Street Fighter and basically Capcom fighting games. Then moving over to Panzer Dragoon from the original Zwei, Saga, obviously I'm going to highlight Saga, and Orta. A couple of oddballs over here, Biohazard Code Veronica, which I haven't yet played, and the infamous, Tokyo Bus Driver. See my brief playthrough of that game if you're interested. Then over to here, we've got Virtua Fighter, all the way from the original Virtua Fighter 1 through to, well, I'll show these in a second. And then Shenmue, I was one of the backers for the Kickstarter, so I got a few extra bits, including your capsule toy here. And all the way through to Shenmue 3, and then Sonic Jam Nights, Christmas Nights, and capped off with Sonic. Some of the stuff you can see, I'm really not sure what to do with it. So I've got as well the old Fight Stick signed by Daigo. You can just about see the sign there, which got signed in London back in 2010. This won't stay open. So I'm a little unsure how exactly to display this. And I just put these up now for the sake of this video. These were extras that came with the Shenmue 3 version that I got. Yeah, so this is just the sort of, these are the highlights. I had to make this display work, I had to put some games behind to provide support for the ones that are standing up. So some difficult decisions in there about which ones to highlight and which to sort of obscure. So let's just move you out of the way and take a closer look. Starting over here with Street Fighter Alpha / Street Fighter Zero, as it was known in Japan. I don't know if Alpha was just Europe or US or what. I can see straight away I'm going to tear this whole thing apart. Alpha 2, 02 was the one that I played a bunch when I first owned it back in the 90s. That was the obvious one to display. Then behind that, a bunch of kind of randos that I'm not too concerned about displaying. No offense if any of your favorites are in here. Just sort of oddities bought for like 100 yen. So it's just, I couldn't not buy it. I felt like, I don't know why I've got 2 copies of Dark Savior, but I do. Vampire Hunter, I'm sure this game is amazing, but I just haven't played it myself, so not that sort of sentimental pride of place. Second copy of Dark Savior. Space Harrier, I love playing that on Shenmue, of course. Zap Snowboarding Tricks. And King of Fighters is bigger than the rest of the cases. So I thought, I mean, it's kind of cool to own that. And a compromise that I reached was just to have it, because I can't have it flush against the others, to have that bit of space so you can kind of see it peeking over there cheekily. I'll leave this. This is sort of teetering on the edge of this shelf over here. So I'll just, we'll see if it stays in place. Then, after Alpha 2, happily, we've got Alpha 3. Pull this out. Hold your breath. There you go. Haven't played this. Sure it's amazing. Keen one day to do so. And here's the second sort of controversy of this whole thing, where my natural inclination was to group Saturn with Saturn, Dreamcast with Dreamcast, but then I realised some of these series are going between consoles, like this one starts with Saturn, goes through onto Dreamcast, and that situation gets more extreme with Panzer Dragoon. In the end, I decided let's go with game series rather than doing it by console. I don't know, I'm open to objections and counter narratives and so on. Then what do we got here? Street Fighter 3, which I never did play, never have played. Again, bought these with full intention of playing them, but then life took its own turn. Super Street Fighter 4, which I certainly have played and played against, also against Daigo on just the one occasion. Video on my channel if you want to see that. And Ultra Street Fighter 4 too. It may have been Ultra actually that I played him on. Which I never did get into too much because I didn't play much online Street Fighter when I was living in Japan. I mainly played it in the UK. And then one I'm really keen to try out, X-Men vs Street Fighter. This was such an exciting game when it came out on the Saturn and requiring that extra memory and really sort of showing off what the Saturn could be if all the developers could use it as well as Capcom was. And then Marvel vs Street Fighter. So to me, these games, these 2D fighting games, are such an important part of Saturn's distinctiveness and its legacy and its ultimately failed promise. Gotta have it in there. And then, oh yeah, so Vampire Hunter, I've got 2 copies of that for some odd reason. So I just put one of these on display as not a Street Fighter game obviously, but very much in that lineage. Then on to, I guess, the kind of showpiece given the rarity of this game. Starting with Panzer 1, look at that, 50 yen, crikey, on the Saturn. I do love Panzer Dragoon Saga, obviously I spent, what was it, something like 20 hours playing it and uploading it or more onto my channel. That's now I think my most popular video. It's overtaken the Geometry Wars record video from back in the day. But I reckon my favourite Panzer Dragoon game is Panzer Dragoon Vi. More so than Saga, much as I do love Saga, but this is possibly my favourite game on the whole console. But obviously this is always going to be pride of place, Panzer Dragoon Saga. Beautiful UK copy that I got back in 2006, I think, on eBay for £180 maybe. I'm not sure how much it's increased in value since then, but never going to sell this one. And then Panzer Dragoon Auto, the only Xbox game, Xbox original in my collection. And actually an amazing game, a really worthy follow-up. Very, very difficult game. One that I've really only scratched the surface of on the couple of playthroughs that I made of it. Then, as I showed before, a couple of randos, Biohazard and Bus Driver. So that's the Street Fighter / Panzer Dragoon section. Quick break into David Lynch lands, just some of my collection here, a couple of duplicates of Mark Frost book. Sorry, it's not Lynchland, it's Frost isn't to be underestimated. There's one outlier. Here's my Japanese copy of Koyaanisqatsi, which is here just because I don't have enough DVDs to fully make everything stable. So I had to put one in there, and that was the one I most wanted to. A couple of copies of Twin Peaks for return. Well, 3 copies in fact, if you can count this one, which I'm not sure how best to display. It folds out in quite a cool way, but I don't know, it's not the most robust structure. The soundtracks, little return placed on top, and the little kind of diorama of Coop and Laura that came with the box set. And then some of Lynch's films. Once I've got Wild at Heart, which I think is my only main Lynch film missing, that can go in place of Koyaanisqatsi. Probably gonna move house again in about 8 months, and then this will all be moot anyway, but here we are. Then into same setup really, like some games had to be sidelined to make it possible for the whole thing to fit together in a structurally sound way. What have we got here? I forgot to check. Yeah, right, Virtua Fighter 1. Everyone knows what that is. Then probably my Virtua Fighter CG Portrait series. Can't say I spent too much time delving into this, but happy to have it as a Virtua Fighter completionist. Virtua Fighter Remix, which was the re-release version of Virtua Fighter 1 once Sega had gotten a bit more on top of graphics of the old Saturn. Then probably the best of this lot, Virtua Fighter 2. What a game. Beautiful, beautiful game. But one that I played, I'm not sure, maybe I played even more than Virtua Fighter 2, was Fighters Mega Mix. So I was really pleased to get hold of this when I did. 100 yen. This again was very exciting. I remember Sega Saturn magazine at the time when there was speculation of Sega working on some new projects for Saturn. The rumours being that it was Virtua Fighter 3, but instead it was this very odd, very fun, very odd game. Let's put this up here for a sec and see some of the oddballs lurking behind. Virtua Highlight, couple of Neon Genesis Evangelion games, Shining Force 3, which I know is rare and valued in the Saturn fanship. I just haven't played it, and I'm not a huge RPG fan, but I will. I promised 200 yen. I will play it once I've got my working Saturn together. And then randomly X Japan, a very popular band, their Saturn game. So there's that. And then into the Dreamcast. Virtua Fighter 3 TB, Tuberculosis. Oops. I did struggle playing this game with the Dreamcast pad. The Saturn controller was really a very good controller for fighting games, and I did struggle a bit with this controller, but nonetheless, very exciting game to play. But for me, the life of Virtua Fighter on Dreamcast is really how it informed this series. Shenmue, excuse me, speaks for itself really. Shenmue 1, which I played many times over the years, and started to play a little bit when I was living in Japan. Maybe I'll put this back to try and see if I can do this without breaking everything. Shenmue 2, which I've only played the one time. I kind of it's such a special playthrough, I kind of don't want to play it again, but I will one day. Obviously a real favourite. Now this was a hard decision to make. I'm a big Sonic fan, but really it's the 16-bit Sonics that I love, and I decided to somewhat marginalise my Sonic collection, because it's Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and those are games I really don't hold in that much regard. If I played Sonic Adventure a lot back in the day, trying to convince myself that I liked it, I didn't really that much. So there's that. And Crazy Taxi 2, I never played this or the first one on the Dreamcast. I was really into Shenmue and Metropolis Street Racer on Dreamcast, Power Stone. Those are games I got back in the UK, which are even more inaccessible than these ones. But so, I'm sure it's a great game. One day I'll get around to it and maybe it will find a place of prominence. And Last Bronx. I should think about where to put this, because it's a bit odd to put it here. It's a game I've played a little bit. I'm excited to play more of. It should really be among the Virtua Fighters, although it's an AM3 game as I recall, not AM2, so that was why I was a bit unsure. Yeah, so that's that one. Still decisions to be made there, I reckon. Let's put 2 back. It's getting a bit sun faded, although these games are out of the sunlight in this location. I think it's actually already a bit faded when I bought it. Then this is the Shenmue 3 soundtrack that came with Shenmue 3. I'm going to say something shocking. I've not completed Shenmue 3. I was very, very excited to get hold of it when I did, but I was underwhelmed by the game in some ways, including the music actually, which I found a bit limited. The fighting style, the get control style I really didn't like, and the food thing too, having to eat all the time. I'll get round to it, I'll finish it, obviously I will. But for the time being, here is my copy of Shenmue 3, and now we're getting into the PS4 era, obviously. And then, as I say, huge fan of the 16-bit Sonics, so this is the more prominent position of Sonic Team. Sonic Jam, which I played the original 16-bit Sonics on the Mega Drive, but I played them a hell of a lot playing Sonic Jam back in the day as well on my Saturn. And then two real favourites, and here's Sonic just keeping guard. What do we got here? We've got, of course, Saturn, Nights and Christmas Nights, which had a 3D Sonic running around as a secret little, not very secret thing you could make to appear. Yeah, so that's all that. Then just to round things off, and again, just not really sure what to do with this other Shenmue memorabilia. Put you back in a second, Sonic. Then the more modern stuff, and here is kind of a problem because that's the thing with digital games. They don't have the physical, obviously, the physical component that allows you to display them so easily. So let's get this out of the way. Whoop. Oh, there's more Sonic, there's more Saturn here too. Sorry. Let's do that first. Guardian Heroes is one of my absolute favourite games from back in the day, so that had to have a prominent place. And then behind that, a few more randoms. Well, I say random. Thunder Force 4 was one of the most amazing games I had on the Mega Drive. Well, I didn't have it, but I played it. Oops, this is going to fall off the way. This is just 2 and 3, I think. I can't read that very well. Gold Pack 1. What was this? Power Slave / Exhumed / whatever. That says a really, really exciting game on the Saturn, showing off that it could pull off 3D graphics in a first-person shooter. I think the team behind this ended up converting Quake or Doom or something for the Saturn. Dead or Alive, never played it. Not yet. Anywho, Sega Touring Car, ditto. And Silent Scope, look at that guy. So I don't know, these are again some odd ones, like quite interesting games that I do intend to play, but don't really have a reason for them to be too prominent apart from Guardian Heroes. And then some real classics, Virtua Cop. It was Virtua Cop 2 that I played a ton of back in the day, and I very much regret the day when I sold off my Saturn collection to buy a Dreamcast. Much as I love the Dreamcast, I sold a lot of Saturn stuff back in the 90s, including the light gun with Virtua Cop 2. But anyway, I don't have 2, but I do have 1, so that's nice. And of course, Virtua On, which I only played with a demo back in the 90s, but it's 10 yen, god damn. Very, very cool game. And finally, again, you can see this is a little bit less ordered than the other ones, so it's kind of like the best of the rest. Sega Rally 2 on the Dreamcast. I played Sega Rally 1 a ton on the Saturn. Haven't yet played. I played it a little bit, I think, back in the day, Sega Rally 2, but all the more reasons to get my Dreamcast sorted out now. Xbox, I've got a few Xbox 360 games here and there, but the only ones really meaningful to mention at this point are these two, Dead Space, and to a lesser extent Dead Space 2, which I played a bunch of. But I wanted to talk about PS4. Oh, sorry, so PS4. Sorry, one more thing. Alan Wake, obviously, I'm a massive fan. I've bought this game so many times. Xbox 360 in Japan to play it again. I've got it in the UK as well. Then I found this limited edition, which I made a video of when I bought it. So that's here. That's got like a book, like a Alan Wake style book inside and all kinds of cool stuff. I've shown that before, so I won't bother showing it again. And then Alan Wake Remastered on the PS4, which I wanted to play in the run-up to the second one. Gotta say, it doesn't really, the gameplay doesn't hold up as well as I thought it would. And I thought this was a prominent enough display for old Alan, so instead of having this face on, I decided to have Control, which was an absolute delight of a game. Remedy is so awesome. Difficult game, frustrating bosses, but wow, what an experience. And I'll certainly play this one again. Not a big fan of the whole crafting stuff, but the atmosphere, the design, most of the gameplay, great fun. Let's put this aside for a second, just check out the other games. So Portal is on the top here. I haven't yet finished Portal 2. It was Portal 1 that I really loved. You can see there's a theme here of amassing games and not playing them, which I don't really approve of, but it's just how life has turned out. GTA 5 also didn't complete, liked it a lot. Hope to one day get around to Red Dead Redemption and a few of these other ones that I picked up very cheap and haven't had a chance to fully play through. Let's be honest, I probably never will do at this point, not these Xbox games, 360 games rather. But who knows, maybe retirement, maybe sometime in the future I'll just have a lot of time in my hands to get through all of these. Give me a sec. PS4, this is where it gets tricky because most of my PS4 games are digital, so I don't have anything to display. But I do have The Last of Us 1 and 2, which are, I've put a lot of time into. Really enjoyed both of these. Controversy around part 2 is just utterly absurd. Don't need me to tell you that. Great games. But the ones, and there are some games on PS4 I don't have any physical record of, in particular Disco Elysium and Doom 2016, which I really enjoyed the last few years. But unfortunately I don't have any artifact related to those. What I do have though for Celeste, which I played a lot, is this, which I bought in Japan, the old winged strawberry, flying strawberry, whatever the hell it is, and Hollow Knight to finish off, which I also really enjoyed. I've got some gameplay I could upload of Hollow Knight, but I don't think it's really, and Celeste, I don't think either are really good enough to warrant it. If you'll forgive the gratuitous shot of my knees, we can have a little look at this Hollow Knight Wanderer's Journal. Just like, this is the thing I guess you can collect in the game of information about all the enemies. It's got a really nice feel to it as well. It feels really good. Yeah. So that's that. And I'm off to Japan later this week. So who knows, I might end up buying some more stuff, which isn't just to collect it. I do hope to one day have a chance to play this stuff. Maybe I'll live in Japan again in the future and be able to plug in my Sega and Dreamcast. Here's a weird thing. I've got Akira, the game hidden away behind all this booze. Because I just couldn't think of a good place to put it. It didn't seem to make sense over here. It didn't really fit with all these movies. But my father-in-law, his name is Akira, and he enjoys a drink, so I don't know, put it there. Bye.